Jules, let's stick with this theme before we circle back to the other United, the one that plays in red. I don't buy. I mean, as I understand, I know you're not supposed to go and approach another club's manager, blah blah blah, and obviously Corberan and Iraola have jobs.
Yeah.
In the real world, we generally know what happens. In the real world, unless there's an international break coming and I'm going to take a lot of time to do a search or whatever, if I don't have time for it, I speak to the person's agent. I speak to them too, secretly, surreptitiously, like Arsenal did with Arteta. Remember that? And like they snuck into his house and stuff. And weirdly, the Sky Sports News cameras were there. How funny. Wonder how they knew. Anyway, did this not happen here? Or do we think it was...
I don't know,
they
maybe...
speak to Corberan and then Corberan says, hey, Corberan, hey, West Brom. Or what's the guy's name? Guo? Is that his name? The owner?
I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah. And I say, look, I got this offer from Leeds.
Yeah, maybe.
You want to give me a new contract since we were in the bottom three, right?
Yeah.
And now we've had this run and we're what are they? They're
6th.
close to the playoffs. They're in the playoff spots now.
Even if it's very tight in the championship, as producer Freddie always says. But maybe that happened. Maybe the plan was not to sign Jesse Marsch just then, and then that defeat at the weekend made like, okay, I've had enough now. But
that means making an emotional decision.
Yeah,
and you don't make
emotional
decisions. You shouldn't make emotional decisions.
Okay, but someone with 25% win ratio since arriving at the club, I think you can make an emotional decision, because I think clearly there were issues in that team.
It's not about win ratio.
No,
it's about points per game.
But even that is very low.
It's lower than you would want it to be given the quality
so
of the
maybe they just thought, you know what, there's no point keeping him in now. We gave him a bit more time than even with. I don't know. There's a lot of things can happen while you make the decision, but then you're right. Where I agree with you that it's a bad look to like. It seems that now they're like, okay, where do we go now? Because the two guys that we spoke to, who by the way, as good as they're doing with their current team now, it's a very different context to Leeds, to the Premier League. To I'm not really sure in the situation that Leeds are right now in the Premier League that those two guys were the best choices. But it looks like they don't know where to go now, and they're struggling, and they'll be like, okay, well, so what's next now? Which is never a good look, because you don't look in control.
Well, which is odd, because obviously there's been a lot of praise for Andrea Radizzani with what he's done with the club, getting back up and whatnot. And obviously the other owners are the 49ers people, right? Yeah. Who, analytics, smart, planning, blah, 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 funds, look, I mean, they don't give it the big one like some other American owners do. But, obviously it's a very well-run, well-respected franchise. So you are kind of surprised that they find themselves in this situation. The other thing is, if you're going to use analytics and you're going to go and evaluate and blah, 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 I still feel if you're going to sack Jesse Marsch, my time to do it was in January, when you still maybe could have sweetened the carrot a little bit for Corberan and Iraola or whoever you want to bring in and say, look, because they spent, $30 million on Jorginho Rutter. Yeah. They got Wolber. They got
McKennie.
They got Weston McKennie, and I think they got somebody else as well. So, in the end, this is an investment north of $50 million, right?
Yeah, more than that even, I think.
So, surely, you would have, if you're a new manager, I'd like to have some input on this investment. This is the part which, to me, doesn't add up, right? How, one game in February after the window closes, boom, you lose to Nottingham Forest, and, sure, it's a direct opponent, but whatever. And all of a sudden, you turn the page. Does that make sense? Is this how you would run your club?
That's a good question. No, probably not. I do think that the players they signed are good young players, and I think that you can work with them. And there's a certain profile, but I think the argument saying like, those guys were for March, and then someone like is coming and might not want them. I don't think it's valid here, because they're good. They're really good young players. They would work really well in the Premier League. So I don't think why did they sack March after the transfer window, after investing that money for players for him?
No, sorry. Let me amend that, Jules. Marsch has a very distinct way of playing, right? Which we know from Salzburg and Leipzig, right? It is not identical to the way Corberan and Iraola play, right? So if you're considering these other guys who have different profiles, you might sign players that suit the football that they want to play.
I think McKennie would work with them too. I think Rutter works with them too. I think Wober works with them too.
Yeah, but how about letting them decide it?
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
No, true.
That's the only thing I would say.
That's very true. That's also true.
With Marsch, what happens next? Because, you know, these are 2 sackings in 2 big European leagues, that he deals with. Personally, I am predisposed to not liking him because
we know.
You know why? Because he went to Princeton.
Not for footballing reasons.
Nothing for footballing reasons. I thought they played decent football. I thought they were onto something good. And I thought it could have been effective. And I think to some degree they've been unlucky. I haven't looked at the analytics to see if they support this. I don't think they were down. He seemed at the end to suggest that, he needs to do a better job and maybe the players weren't getting his message or whatever. Is that what happened?
I think the injuries have hit them at key moments and key players, certainly. I still think that defensively they had too many problems. And I do think that that was a problem that he never managed to rectify and never managed to make them more solid. And then going forward, I like a lot of the press and the counter pressing and the intensity and all the running. And they did miss some chances, but there were games where they played really well, and there were other games where they were not good at all. And I think that inconsistency, if it was my club, if I was the owner, I would really struggle with, because I do think that it's also the problem lies in the manager. Then, if you can't get your team consistently playing either the same way or as well as they should week in and week out, depending on who they face, it's a problem that lies with him. But the US men's national team is there for him. It's perfect. It's there for him. It's there if he wants it.
It is.
It's just there. They're looking for someone. It makes a lot of sense.
I don't think it's personally. I don't think it's the right move for him, and I don't think it's the right move for the US national team.
It'd be hard for him to find another club in the top 5 leagues for now, for sure. So it might not be a bad idea for the next few years to go there, do well, and then put his name back in the
26 World Cup. If you screw that up, you're out.
Yeah, but he can also not screw that up. He can go there with a great generation. A lot of players that he knows well.
I just think he's got room to grow before he goes there, and I think.
Where then?
A smaller team in Germany or France or Italy, and then show that you can do this, that you can play this way. You're not just the Red Bull guy.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.